Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Did you have a good lunch? Yeah. I love the food at this conference. It is one of my favorite things about coming here, plus seeing all of you. So thanks for being here. I'm gonna do something a little bit different today. I'm going to share some stories, as I said I would, about the animals, but several of them are stories that I've written with children in mind, and I hope that you enjoy them. I think that they'll be the kinds of stories that children of all ages, including all of us, can enjoy. But just to let you know that that's going to be happening. But before we do that, there's something that I think is so important that I like to say it every time I talk. And I think it's relevant to the stories today, and that is that the animals need us, but we need them more than they need us. And I say this because it's really easy to get caught up in this work and feel like you're such a savior, right? And, you know, and some ego can go into that. I think it's really important for us to remember who it is we're doing this work for. It is absolutely for them, but also that we need them, that we human beings need them, that the earth and the animals need us to do this work, but more than that, we can't survive as healthy, natural, normal animals that we are until we start treating all of us like animals in the good sense of the word. So I want to just tell you quickly about something that happened when I was 8 years old. I was on the school bus, and every day riding the bus, there was a girl named Katie on the bus, and Katie every day would be just tormented and bullied on the school bus, every single day. And Katie was, she was always wearing kind of like dirty, rumpled clothes, and when the school bus stopped at her house to let her off, the house was messy with junk piled up everywhere, and I always felt badly for Katie. And one day, the kids on the school bus started bullying Katie, and I stood up. I had had enough. So I stood up, and I stood between this boy and Katie, and I said something like, you can't do that anymore, or don't be so mean, or whatever I said. Katie hit me and yelled, why are you doing that? What? No one asked, and I said, I'm trying to help you, I'm trying to protect you. She said, no one asked you to protect me. And I thought about that, and I thought, oh, it's true, no one did. She didn't, I don't know that she wanted to be protected at all, much less that she wanted to be protected by me, maybe, or in what way she wanted to be protected. And I think about that a lot. I think about Katie a lot as we do this work for the animals, because, this is the only social justice movement that exists in which those whose justice we're fighting for are not part of the movement. And we often say they're voiceless. So what I want to do is share their voices with you, because they're not voiceless. They do have voices, and we need to listen to them. It's really important that we listen to those that we are working for, and remember that it's their voices that come first, and ours can only kind of chime in to support them. So with that said, I want to start by letting some of them speak to you directly. And after we've had a chance for them to speak to you directly, I'm going to tell you some stories which, to the best of my ability, try to show you how I hear their voices. So I'd like you to just close your eyes and listen and see if you can imagine who's talking to you. Okay? So when we listen to the pig's voice, which pig do you think it was? Do you think it might have been Selick? Or do you think it might have been Nunzi? Just curious who you pictured. Who thinks it was Selick? Okay, some hands. Who thinks it was Nunzi? Okay. And it was, in fact, Selick, but there's no right or wrong here. What really matters is that we listened. and that we closed our eyes, we imagined them, we listened to them, we paid attention to their voices. What about the chicken that you heard? Do you think it was June, or do you think it was Ella? Ella, yeah. Okay, it was Ella. Okay, you also heard a rooster, and that was Sherman. You can do very little around our place without hearing Sherman. And I say that in the most loving way because he's really quite wonderful to listen to. So I'm going to start with the first story now, and this story is about a duck named Abe. Abe is a Sanskrit word. It means fearless. And this story is called I Am. Abe escaped from a live market. Now, does everybody here know what a live market is? Okay. Just for those of you who don't, I'll just quickly say so that you have the background. A live market is a place where the consumer can go. The animals are kept there in cages like this. This is a photo from a live market. These are some ducks at a live market. You can see how they're housed in here. They don't have water, they don't spread their wings, and they wait there until the consumer comes and picks out the one that they want killed, and then they get killed right there in front of the animals. So one of these ducks would be pulled out, in other words, and killed right there on the spot, where the other ducks could see. And they're often quite dirty places and frightening places, and from time to time animals escape from there. And Abe was able to do that, and we were certainly grateful that he was. So this is Abe's story. And I'm going to read some of these because I wrote them to be read. So it's a little different from telling a story. So, spring was coming, and the big drapes were getting feisty. "Oh, hey guys," Abe said nervously when they approached. "Quack, quack," Waddle declared to his brother. Nodding, Whittle replied, "Quack," and they zoomed down on Abe and forced him to run for cover. The big drakes were closing in. Abe looked around frantically, but he was pinned in a corner. "Quack," Whittle said threateningly. "Quack," his brother added. "Easy, guys. I don't mean any trouble," Abe stammered. Swoop, the goosies rushed in. "Honk," Big Lou yelled while chasing the big ducks away. "Hush now," Lucy murmured, stretching her wing around Abe. "Don't you let those boys scare you. They're just jealous." "Jealous?" Abe wondered. "Those silly boys. All they can think about in spring is girls. They're scared the girls will like you better than them," Lucy explained while her husband Lou nodded his head. Why would they think that?" Abe was dumbfounded. The goosies exchanged a smile. "Maybe it's your mysterious past," Lucy said affectionately. "Everyone thinks you're quite intriguing," Lou added. "I am?" Abe said with wonder, then straightened up a bit. "I am." He said it again more confidently. "That's right," Lucy encouraged. "Come on now, let's go swimming." Abe followed the goosies as they started towards the pond. But halfway there, he stopped short. "What is it, son?" Lou inquired. Humans," Abe fretted while slinking, as well as a duck can slink, back towards the barn. "Come now, you needn't be afraid of them," Lou encouraged. But I am," and waddled back to the barn as fast as his legs could carry him. But there in the barn door stood Sheba the peahen, glowering at him. Excuse me?" Abe said nervously. "What's the matter, Abe? Are you running from something?" "I am," Abe replied. "Those humans near the pond." "Go on, then." Sheba stepped aside to let him pass through the doorway, and Abe raced back to the safety of his pen. No sooner had he caught his breath when Cecilia and Phoenicia came blustering in. "Bok, bok," the hens sang noisily. "Bok, bok." Their confidence made Abe nervous. He hid behind the water can, but he was shaking so much that the can rattled. Luckily, the hens ignored him, and soon he was able to take a deep breath. Until... Thrash, crash, boink, boink! Lovebug the cat fell through the ceiling and landed right by Abe. "Eek!" Abe yelled while running frantically around the pen. "Eek!" Cecilia and Phoenicia took up the cry. "Cock-a-doodle, something's going on!" Henry the rooster joined the fray. "Why!" yelled the peacock. Gobble, gobble, yelled the turkeys. All the birds were yelling and running, and Lovebug sat licking his paws and eyeing Abe mildly. What's up, dude? Lovebug purred. Why is everyone freaking out? Because of you. You fell from the ceiling. I do that all the time, dude, Lovebug yawned. It's part of my shtick. They're used to it. Nah, that's not why they went bonkers. It's not? Abe's voice sounded muddled. Nope, you're the reason. I am? If a duck could screw up his face in puzzlement, that is what Abe would have been doing. Yep, you freaked, so they freaked. Really? Dude, you escaped the predators in the big city and survived to tell the tale. Yeah. They figure if you're afraid of something, they ought to be too. But I'm afraid of everything. Oh boy, then these birds are in for something. Tell you what, Lovebug meowed as he stretched. Why don't you give them a break? Just get scared when something's a real threat. Otherwise, be cool. Lovebug advised, like me. And with that, he climbed up the wall and disappeared into the ceiling. Be cool. Be cool. Okay, I can do that. I am cool. Abe tried to convince himself. I am cool. He stood up a little straighter. I am cool, he declared and stretched his wings. I am so cool. He hopped into the water bowl and ducked his head happily. I am, he marveled. I'm cool. I'm not afraid of anything. He realized the more he said it, the more confident he felt. Quack, quack, the threatening Drake brothers returned. Quack, they yelled. Uh-oh, Abe scrambled out of the water bowl. Easy, guys, he pleaded as he backed away, his heart pounding. Quack! They had him in the corner again, and this time the goosies were in the pond, much too far to come to his defense. Ah! Abe yelled, flapping his wings frantically. He dodged to the left, but the big ducks blocked his path. He tried to run to the right, but hit the wall. Ah! He screamed in fear. Psst! He heard a whisper from above. Be cool, Lil Man. You got this, Lovebug purred. Suddenly, the drakes looked a little less scary than they had before. Abe looked past them and saw Sheba standing tall, looking right at him. You are strong, her eyes seemed to say. He looked to the left and saw 2 littler ducks and some hens watching him with big eyes. He's so mysterious and brave, they twittered to each other. Abe remembered how he had just been feeling cool and brave and strong a few minutes before. He took a deep breath, stood up straight and tall, and repeated silently to himself, I am fearless. I am strong. I am, he said to himself, but he still felt a little scared. I am, he quacked out loud, and felt like maybe it was so. He imagined he was talking to Lovebug, the cool cat. I am! This time, he knew it was true. Abe walked past the stunned big drakes. I am, he sang. Hey guys, let's all go to the pond and swim. And all the birds happily followed Abe outside, even the drakes. When we first got Abe, he was terrified of everything, as you might have picked up. And these days, he's in the center of all the ducks, leading them around and quacking around happily. And it's really lovely to see. This next story is called Pignificent. And this one is one that is about the first pig that I ever rescued. It was a long time ago. And I don't have any photos of him. So this is actually Duncan, who's standing in for Pigmont, was the pig that this story is about. And this one is going to have less illustrations because I don't have photos, but you can enjoy Duncan anyways. And he's beautiful enough to watch for a few minutes, isn't he? So, poor old Pigmont. Nobody wanted him because they said he was ugly. And what was to become of an ugly old pig? He was helpless. For in this world, pigs can't live alone and take care of themselves. They need human people to love them and take them home and take care of them. Once, Pigmont remembered, he had that. In fact, once, Pigmont had the best home ever. Bob was the nicest man in the world. He loved horses and had lots of them that lived on a big, beautiful farm with him. There were lots of huge old trees for shade, areas of green pastures, and a whole orchard where apples, pears, and cherries and so many other delicious things grew. But most of all, Bob was kind. He spoke to his animals softly, moved gently around them, and took such loving care of them. Pigmont had met Bob on a hot summer day many years before. Bob loved horses, and he had been visiting another man who had lots of horses. They were walking through the barn, commenting on this one's conformation, whatever that was, and that one's temperament, and that one's feet, just generally talking geeky horse talk. Pigmont didn't even bother to get up and greet them, for none of the humans who came through this barn ever seemed to want to see an ugly old pig when there were so many beautiful horses around. But Bob was different. He walked right up to Pigmont, squatted down, looked him in the eye, and said, "Well, hello there, old fella." "What's this little guy's story?" Bob asked the man. "Oh, him?" the man said dismissively. "That's just some old pig. I bought a breeding mare once that was bonded to him, so I had to take them both. But she's gone now. Wouldn't you know it, I got stuck with this ugly old pig." Bob caught Pigmont's eye and winked, then looked back at the old man and said, "Lightly as you please. I'll take him off your hands if you'd like." The man snorted. "Why on earth would you want to do that?" "I like him. Besides, you have enough horses to take care of. This'll lighten your load." "Well," said the man doubtfully, "okay, he's all yours." "Beautiful pig," Bob whispered, so only Pigmont could hear. "I'll take good care of you." And that, Pigmont remembered fondly, was how he went to live with Bob. He had adventures every day wandering around the vast farmlands, finding delightful things to eat in the orchard. There was a pond near the orchard where Pigmont liked to go for a wallow, and he made lots of new duck and goose friends while he was there. One summer day, Pigmont discovered heaven on earth. Some intoxicating smells led him to a small fenced-off enclosure. He dug and dug until finally he had enough room to fit under the fence. There, he discovered delicious yellow squash, beautiful juicy tomatoes, crispy green spinach, and so many other wonderful treats. He grunted and ate until he just couldn't move anymore. His belly was that full. So he dug a nice little bed for himself in the cool dirt in the shade of a huge tomato plant and snuggled in for a lovely nap. Ah, yes, life with Bob had been good. Sadly, one day Bob's heart attacked him. Pigmont did not understand exactly what that meant, but that was what the people said who came to the farm and started taking Bob's things away. What Pigmont did know was that Bob wasn't here anymore, and nobody even looked at him in the eye anymore, much less called Pigmont a beautiful pig. New people came to feed him twice a day, and all they talked about was what to do with him. The horses left one by one, off to new homes with people who called them wonderful and said they loved them, and who didn't even look twice at Pigmont. Pigmont's duck and goose friends flew away because they did not like being around all of these strangers. Finally, Pigmont was alone on the farm. What was to become of him? Some people came with big trucks and started loading up Bob's tractors. They smelled funny, like tractor fuel. One of them looked right at him before they left and said, "What's up with that old pig?" "Want him?" another one said gruffly. "He's yours. They told us to get rid of him." So the skinny guy who smelled like diesel backed his truck into the barn, picked Pigmont up, he was pretty strong for a skinny guy, and put him in the back seat. The skinny guy wasn't mean, but he just wasn't soft or gentle like Bob had been. He took Pigmont to a barn where he put him in a stall next to a dog named Maggie. "Okay, boy, I don't have a fence yet, so you need to live in here until I have some way to keep you from wandering around," he said. The man fed Pigmont and Maggie the same thing, dog chow. At first, Pigmont turned up his nose at the disgusting, smelly stuff. He dreamed of that wonderful vegetable garden, the orchard, the pond, his duck and goose friends, but most of all, he dreamed of Bob, that dear, dear man who had taken so much good care of Pigmont. Oh, how he missed Bob so. Months passed, and Pigmont's memories of Bob began to seem like a distant dream. Day in and day out, Pigmont just sat in his stall and listened to Maggie chatter away. Finally, the skinny man came and put Pigmont back in the truck. "There's someone you should meet," he said. Pigmont fell asleep on the long drive and dreamed he was going to see Bob again. The next thing Pigmont knew, he smelled something sweet and felt a soft hand on him. He opened his eyes and saw a girl with an apple in her hands talking to the skinny man. "He's the most beautiful pig in the world." I'll give anything to have him. Lady, this ugly old pig isn't worth a dime, and I can't keep him without offense. He's yours. Pigmont found himself in a light-filled, airy barn. The girl brought him to a big stall with a huge pile of straw for a bed and a bowl heaped with spinach, lettuce, broccoli, and apples. She sat down next to him. My, you are pignificent. Pigmont, what do you think? Is this okay for your bedroom? Tomorrow I'll take you outside and show you around. She stroked his back while she talked and looked into his eyes like Bob used to do. My goodness, you are the most beautiful pig in the world, she said. I'm so happy to have you here. She began to sing a song that became exclusively hers and Pigmont's. I'm not going to torture you with the whole song, but you have to hear part of it because it's fun. 1. Singular pixation, every little step he takes. 1. Thrilling combination, every move that he makes. 1 smile and suddenly no other pig will do. You know you'll never be lonely with Pigmont, who? Anyways, you get the idea. My beautiful, pignificent pig, I'm so glad you're here with me, she murmured before tucking him in each night. You see, everyone else was looking at Pigmont's outside, which was old and mottled and wrinkly, and his face was a little lopsided, maybe not so pleasing. But the girl, like Bob, saw Pigmont's real self, a gentle, fun, and funny pig who just wanted to love and be loved. Soon, Pigmont met all of the other beautiful animals on the girl's farm and learned that people had said they were ugly or useless too. There was Cody, the pony who was allergic to grass, and Bang Bang, the herding dog who could not see or hear. There were chickens who limped and all kinds of beings that other people didn't want, but the girl wanted all of them. The girl loved them, and they all took care of her. All the animals were kind and gentle, welcoming Pigmont to their home. Every day, he was with his friends, wandering the small farm, and had lovely adventures, and every night he slept in a bed of soft hay after eating a big bowl of vegetables and fruit. The girl slept in the house, but Pigmont learned that he could call her whenever he wanted. "Huh," he'd say, and through her open bedroom window she'd reply, "Huh." "Ha ha," Pigmont continued. The girl smiled. "Ha ha ha, beautiful pig. I love you." Every night and every morning they'd talk this way between the barn and the house. And every day Pigmont's life was filled with love and fun and fresh vegetables. Beautiful pig, I love you. You are the most beautiful pig in the world. Pignificent. Was the last thing Pigmont heard as he died a very happy, very old pig. So it's 15 years later, and I can't talk about Pigmont without crying, so he was a pretty cool pig, you can tell. Okay, one more kid story, and then we'll move to adult stories, okay? All right, this one is called Once a Lonely Peacock, and this is about Maja the Fabu, who lives with us. Once, a lonely peacock lived on a magical farm. Actually, he still lives there, but he's not lonely anymore. And it's not actually a farm, but a sanctuary for farm animals. A farm sanctuary. But I'm getting ahead of the story. Once a lonely peacock lived on a magical farm sanctuary. He wasn't a lonely, sad peacock. He was, for the most part, a lonely, happy peacock. After all, he did live on a magical farm sanctuary. His name was Maja the Fabu, and he was a beautiful, beautiful bird, even among peacocks. And he was a happy bird for the most part. He spent his days wandering free wherever he chose. As the self-appointed protector of the magical farm and all of its magical inhabitants, Maja considered it his duty to visit every inch of the farm every day. He also spent lots of time in high-up places like barn roofs and treetops and called out to his beautiful, magical, super loud warning if ever danger lurked. But, as I told you, it was a magical farm, so pretty much everyone was safe there anyways. Maja was very popular and had lots of friends. There were several chickens in particular that Maja was very close to, but he also enjoyed time spent with the giant pigs, the little pigs, the cows, the sheep, and especially the horses. Actually, the horses were the only ones good-looking enough to truly be seen with. After all, Maja was so handsome, everyone else looked a little, well, not so glamorous in comparison. So Maja had lots of friends and a good life on the magical farm. But he was still rather lonely. You see, he spoke every language fluently: pig, cow, sheep, goat, chicken, turkey, goose, duck, horse, mule, English. But no one spoke his language. And every once in a while, it is lovely to hear one's own language spoken. Once there was someone who spoke peafowl with him. Her name was Mother Superior, and she was so much more than the word chicken might convey, unless you know a lot of chickens personally, that is. Simply put, Mother Superior was a hen among hens. She was vast in her inner beauty, compassion, wisdom, and sense of humor. Mother Superior's keen eyes took in everything that happened on the magical farm sanctuary, and she always understood it through the eyes of love. She kindly mothered her flock day in and day out for many years. She showed them where to find yummy tidbits of food, shepherded them into the barn every night, and took care of them in so many more ways. By the time Maja got to the magical farm, Mother Superior was an elderly hen and had handed over her active mothering duties to several younger chicks. On the day that Maja arrived, he was a bit nervous. He had never seen so many other animals, all speaking different languages, but luckily Mother Superior was there. She took him under her wing, figuratively of course. A peacock is much too big to fit under a chicken's wing, and taught him all the languages on the farm sanctuary, while he taught her peafowl. Mother Superior and Maja enjoyed discussing the nature of things around them, and through comparing their experiences, they often learned a lot about the world. Maja, tell me, Mother Superior asked one day, where do raindrops come from? Why, they come from clouds. Don't they? It does seem to me that they do. And Maja, you can fly a lot higher than I can, so please tell me, are clouds made of raindrops? Mother Superior persisted. No, I mean, yes. I mean, sort of. Clouds are like rain in the form of air, like moist air. Well, you've been in a fog, right? Fog is a cloud that is nearer to the earth, Maja struggled to explain. Ah, so clouds are not made of raindrops, but they are made of water in a different form, yes? Ah, so the essence of the raindrop, the water, exists even when the raindrop as we know it is gone. Mother Superior sounded happy about this. Yes, that's exactly right, Maja agreed. Maja, my dear friend, Mother Superior said, I will be changing my shape soon too, and I want you to understand. Remember, Mother Superior was no spring chicken. In fact, she was a winter chicken. What I mean to say is Mother Superior was super duper old. She was nearly 10, and that's much older for a chicken than it is for a human little boy or girl. Maja, she said softly, just as a raindrop melts into the ground, evaporates into the air, forms clouds in the sky, and then rains down again, I too will be changing form soon. I will no longer be here in the same way to travel the sanctuary with you and to have lengthy conversations in peafowl about the meaning of life and other important things. It is my time to travel on. But just as that raindrop remains water, no matter what its form, I remain me, even when I leave this form. And my love will remain with you, she explained gently. Maja cried quietly as he listened. Everything changes, my friend. Everything changes, she cooed. The next morning, Maja awoke at dawn without his lovely friend. Mother Superior had died in the night. Of course, he was sad and he missed her, but Maja remembered that her love lived on, and he also realized that he had many more loved ones and much to be grateful for. For 2 long years, Maja the Fabu wandered the farm alone. Of course, he stopped to play and visit with all the animals, just as he always did, but he never found a friend as close as Mother Superior, and he had no one with whom to speak peafowl. Not having any close friends, though, was not for lack of trying. In fact, Maja the Fabu tried really hard every day. He followed Thelma and Louise the turkeys around, but they just ran away. He tried to befriend Lucy and Loosey-Goosey, but the geese simply hissed at him. The pigs were very kind to him, but their interests were just so different. So Maja remained a lonely peacock. Until one day, a car pulled in the driveway and two shiny, happy people got out. Peacocks have very keen hearing and sight, so Maja was able to sit on the top of the barn and observe the proceedings. The shiny, happy people said their names were Joy and Tom. Can you believe it? This lady was so happy that her name was Joy. Maja felt that boded very well. And wait, what's this? Who was that in the back seat? Could it be? No! Maja flew down and hid behind a tall bush where he could watch and listen without being spotted. It was! Maja could hardly believe his ears. Wah! He let out his eerie mating call. A girl! And not just any girl, a peahen! Maja could not even remember the last time he heard a peahen. The shiny people carried her into the barn in a dog carrier, and then they opened the door. Maja peered into the barn from the back doorway. First, one scaly gray foot emerged, the talon-like toes daintily outstretched. Maja gulped. The way her scaly leg pulled at his heartstrings, I cannot even describe, but pull them they did. Next, her body and head appeared. Silver body and wing feathers with an iridescent green head, a Burmese peahen. Maja, being a peacock of Indian descent, had never met a Burmese peafowl before, and their beauty was legendary. The gorgeous peahen straightened to her full height, stretched her wings, and shook her feathers out. As each feather settled perfectly into place, the majestic peahen turned her head and looked right at Maja. Maja did what any red-blooded male who draws the attention of a woman in whom he has interest would do. He ran away. Sheba paid him no mind. Instead, she stood still for a moment so everyone around her could admire her beauty. She understood that it was difficult for others to take in a sight as glorious as she, and that they would need a moment. Next, she wandered off and began exploring. After a few hours, Maja worked up his courage and perched next to her. She turned to him and their eyes met. "Finally, I found you," she said in peafowl. You've been looking for me?" The regal peacock, king of the barn, was reduced to tears at hearing his beloved language again. "I was captured as a pea baby and forced to perform in a traveling show. Everywhere we went, I sought someone who could understand me, someone with whom I could ponder the mystery of the ages." "How did you escape?" "I was rescued by a gaze of raccoons." Maja interrupted. Excuse me, but could you tell me what a gaze of raccoons is? I'm not familiar with the term." "Certainly. I didn't know either until they explained it to me. A gaze is what raccoons call their group, just like we call a group of us a party of peafowl." "Fascinating. Thank you for that explanation. And now, please do tell me more," Maja requested. "The raccoons were lovely and treated me quite well, but alas, life with a gaze of raccoons was simply not for me. I summoned assistance from beyond to find the life I was meant to live. Joy and Tom then came for me and brought me to Lhasa Sanctuary. Whilst it is a wonderful place with many happy animals, I did not find anyone to bond with among the chickens, cows, and sheep there. Oh, I did love them all, but there was no one I felt especially close with. Joy and Tom understood, and they began to seek out an appropriate mate for me. Joy consulted her magic box. Have you seen one of these devices? It's similar to a crystal ball and allows humans to communicate across great distances. Yes, I'm familiar with these magic boxes. Our humans have them as well. That is how Joy found you, and so they brought me here. You came here for me? I did. Mother Superior, from her place beyond, embraced the two with changeless love. And with love, capital L, the two peafowl found themselves connected to each other and all that is, never more to be lonely, for none of us is ever truly alone. Okay, so now I'm going to just tell you about a couple of recent rescues that we've done. The first one is Sir Clifford's Sweet Mud, and he's pretty awesome. He had a bit of a rough time before he came to us. Oh, it's here, sorry. So it was an exquisite scene, typical of rural Pennsylvania's unspeakable beauty. A stream meandered through it, burbling gently as rapids formed by changing terrain. Moss-covered boulders dotted the scene. Tall trees grew from a thick, soft carpet of natural leaf mulch. Sunlight streamed through, deepening the ground. But wait, something is out of place. There are a few brightly colored autumn leaves left amongst the winter brown ground cover. With a closer look, it becomes clear. These are not leaves at all. These are the brightly colored remains of 4 roosters. Some are decapitated. The others have neck injuries. It appears that they have been strangled and left to die here in Pennsylvania paradise. We've been told that one rooster survived the atrocity and has stayed with the bodies of his friends for 3 weeks, enduring the harsh winter nights. His comb is frostbitten, and he has raw, exposed wounds on his throat, where he clearly, the same hands tried to end his life. How he survived remains a mystery. We scour the woods, hoping to bring this brave boy to the safety and comfort of Indra Loka. Finally, a voice comes over the walkie-talkie. I think I found something. When was the last time he was spotted? This morning, I recall. The woman who called us fed him a croissant. There's a body here matching his description, she says sadly. I make my way over and find a decapitated head. It does indeed match the description, but could it belong to one of the other bodies we saw? She shakes her head. Keep going, she says. There's a body. I find the body and compare it to the others. I don't think this one is any more recently killed. A colleague agrees. We all sigh and resume the search. We're probably frightening him, I think. We humans make so much noise, and what reason has he to trust us? I sit quietly and wait. The other search party members disperse and do the same. The wind is blowing. It's cold in the woods without benefit of the winter sun. The rock beneath me is hard and cold. I resist the urge to shift, check my breathing that it remains steady and quiet, calm. Trust me, I will him. Come out, I think. I picture the warm bed we have prepared for him and the lovely flock of hens where we hope he will live. I picture the mound of fresh produce. Oh, how I want to give this little guy a happy ending. Hours pass. None of us sees or hears him. We'll go back tomorrow and try again. I don't understand the rooster's karma, nor the karma of the human who created this sad scene. I understand it is not mine to understand, but still, I can't help but mourn the sadness of it. What a beautiful place for such a grisly scene. What a beautiful world for such cruelty to exist. I don't know if you can see it, but those are the bodies of his brothers that he was staying with. Happily, the next day brings us better luck. We planned to disperse to strategic places and sit quietly until he emerged. Within 30 minutes, Johnny's whisper comes over the walkie-talkie. He's here. Quickly, Johnny throws a net, but the wily little guy was faster. 3 of us bumbling humans were off and running then, chasing one clever little rooster over the river, around boulders, through ravines. Then we lost him. Gasping for air, we convened to strategize some more. It's supposed to get really cold tonight, I venture. I'm not sure if he can make it through another night. Then we'll have to bring him home now, Johnny says matter-of-factly. As if on cue, we hear scratching on the ground and spot the rooster under some thick brush, not too far from us. I'm going to chase him onto the road, Johnny whispers. Get ready to catch him. Off they go again, out the other side of the brush, over a log, past the bodies of his brothers. Just as the rooster was about to leap the river, Johnny's whole body flew forward, the net landing safely over our reluctant rescuee. Quickly, I gather the frightened bird into a blanket, checking him for urgent injuries. He's very thin, with serious frostbite, but he appears to be remarkably good condition, considering his circumstances. We named him Sir Clifford Sweetmud, and he now lives happily amongst a flock of 18 hens, who he courts fervently and defends valiantly and loves unrelentingly. I want to just show you, this is his, you can see in this picture better, this is how much frostbite he had. Do you see that black on top and underneath? It was really cold. So that was Sir Clifford Sweetmud. This is the story of Thelma and Louise. Aren't they beautiful? Thelma and Louise were rescued together in November of 2012, minutes before their scheduled deaths. They had two very distinct personalities and were inseparable. Louise was soft and sweet, always a cuddler. The only trouble Louise ever gave anyone was plopping down in front of us, so we had no choice but to stop what we were doing and cuddle with her. She was a definite tripping hazard. And I mean like literally, like you're trying to clean the barn, right? And she kept like plopping right in front of you and just insisting that you stop what you're doing and pet her. It was really sweet. Thelma, on the other hand, was more assertive from the beginning. She was fiercely protective of Louise and dominated over every other bird in the flock, except for Sheba the peahen. Thelma and Sheba had had a standoff for years. Thelma was also affectionate with people she knew well and when the mood struck her. And there were a few human people that Thelma simply did not like at all. Her solution was to threaten them whenever they were near. I don't know if you've ever seen a turkey. Has anyone ever seen a turkey threaten someone? So their head gets brightly colored and they puff themselves all the way out and they start making these noises, and they like come closer, and it can be really scary. So she would do this to anyone she didn't like, anytime they were around. And a lot of these were really nice people. Together, Thelma and Louise were rock stars. They greeted visiting school children as they emerged from their vehicles and accompanied us around the whole sanctuary, interfering as the children tried to meet the other animals, insisting that they be given attention instead. Sadly, last summer, Louise passed away. Thelma sang to Louise as she died. After she crossed over, Thelma circled Louise's body 3 times and then sat quietly next to her for 30 minutes or more until we removed the body. After this, Thelma fell into a deep depression that lasted several weeks. She refused to go outside, only ate or drank when we brought food and water to her, and did not fight with Sheba. She didn't seem comforted by anyone. Finally, one day, she got up in the morning and walked into the sunshine. But then she became so very affectionate that several people asked me if perhaps this was Louise, and could it have been Thelma that died? Of course, I could tell them apart, and I knew this was not so. Thelma then began fiercely trying to brood. Does everybody know what that means, to brood? So when a bird wants to have babies, they go into this mood that's called brooding, where they just sit completely still for days and days and weeks on end. The reason is because if they have a clutch of eggs under them, that's how the eggs start to develop. So Thelma started trying to brood. She kept finding new places to hide nests. So every time she'd start to brood, we'd have to go and take the eggs from her nest because we're a sanctuary and we don't, we can't allow reproduction because we have to keep spaces for rescues. So she kept hiding nests. And after we thwarted her attempts about 5 times, this is fascinating, I actually saw her stealing eggs from other birds as they laid them and rolling them carefully with her beak to her own nest and then sitting on them. So when I saw her do this, I let her sit on them for a few hours because I was curious about what was going to happen next. Soon, one of the hens she had stolen from came in and sat next to her and ever so carefully reached underneath Thelma and started taking her egg back. So Thelma just turned to her and took it back again. So the two of them were doing this for a few minutes until then they both started making that noise again, the one I told you about, that and I could see that they were about to start a fight over the eggs, so I had to take them away. But it was really something I've never seen before or since. Just as Thelma seemed to be getting back to normal, Sheba died in her sleep. I was on a ladder removing Sheba's body from her perch when Thelma wandered in. She watched me intently. I laid Sheba's body on the grass, and Thelma circled it 3 times, then sat quietly next to it, just as she had done with Louise. She then fell into another period of mourning from which she never emerged. More than a year after losing them, the barns still echo with the silly antics, and we all miss them deeply. So Thelma actually died a broken heart, really. During their short time here with us, Thelma and Louise changed the way that countless humans understand turkeys, and by doing so, they have saved many, many more lives. Yeah. I just want to show you this short clip of Thelma and Louise. This is every year we have a Thanksgiving event where we have crowds and crowds of people come and we feed a huge feast to the turkeys. And we teach the people to hand feed the turkeys and that kind of thing. So this is from Thanksgiving.
Oh, we have to. Like right in the middle of town. Yeah, like not even.
There's a lot of background noise because there's all these people around. But
No, like they were like leaving.
just so cute, huh? They just enjoy it so much. It's really. So I wanted you to see that. So that's all my stories that I have for you. I would love for you to keep in touch, and we have some time to answer any questions that you have about any of these animals we talked about or any of the others. I put my contact information up here. The blog is all kinds of stories like this, both for adults and for kids. And I would be so grateful if you like the stories, if you would go and subscribe to the blog. And I've just been told that it's been nominated for an award in a mainstream blog contest. And last year, we actually were able to win an award in a mainstream contest, which is really wonderful because all these new people who are not animal rights activists, who never thought about beings like this, come and read the stories and hopefully start to see them a little bit differently. So I would be so grateful if you would check our Facebook page, and when you see that contest, the voting is started. If you like it, please vote for it. And I put a bunch of cards up here too.
Thank you, Indra. What beautiful stories. We have time for maybe one quick question, if anybody has one. No? Okay, well, if you think of any later, you can find her after.
Who took all those amazing photos?
Oh, I can't believe I didn't mention it. I'm glad you asked. They were amazing photos, weren't they? No, I meant to mention it. Johnny took all the photos, and I'm so grateful to be able to have them to tell the stories with. Johnny's going to be talking tonight at what time? 8 o'clock. Johnny runs the sanctuary with me, and he's going to be talking at 8 o'clock tonight about the Tao of Pooh. And I really hope that you'll all come. It's going to be a really, really wonderful talk. And again, on Sunday, he's talking. What time on Sunday? Do you know? Oh. On Sunday, he's going to talk about sanctuary yoga. So both of these talks are about how the animals help us develop spiritually, really. So I hope that we'll see you there, and I hope that you'll come and say hi over the course of the weekend. Thank you.